Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone, this afternoon. I would like to call this first fall meeting to order. I guess really we're not into fall yet, but it's not, doesn't feel like fall, I should say. But anyways, welcome. Thank you for coming. We're going to have a resolution here, reporting out of closed, moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Zimmerman, that the council receives the closed session report regarding proposed or pending acquisitions or dispositions of lands. Council receives the closed session report regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, and further that the council approves the confidential direction to staff. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Next resolution is moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the minutes of the town of Minto, July 1st, 2023 closed session meeting and August 8th, 2023 regular council meeting be approved. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Zimmerman, that the Court of Revision be convened. All in favor of that motion? Thank you. That's carried. So we have a municipal drain application today, and I'm gonna, not an application, but I'm gonna ask everybody to just stay where they are unless you want to move. So we have, you can stay.
Just be quiet.
Okay, so we have three people on this board. That's Deputy Mayor Anderson, Councillor Gunson, and myself. And I'd like to call this drain meeting to order. And this is a disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Any declarations? Okay, thank you. Purpose of the Court of Revision meeting is to hear appeals to the schedule of assessment for Minto Drain number 17, beginning in lot 101, concession D, proceeding north across Wellington Road 109 to lot 101, concession C, town of Minto, county of Wellington, and the following are attached to the agenda. The Court of Revision, so the agenda is Court of Revision jurisdiction, notice of sitting of Court of Revision, and a drainage report. And as of right now, we have no written appeals. And I'd just like to say that we do have Trevor on the line with us, if there's questions. Good afternoon, Trevor.
Just give him a minute, he's coming.
Okay.
Okay, maybe you can hear me now.
Good afternoon, Trevor. Welcome to the meeting. This is Trevor Kipfer from RJ Burnside and Associates.
Thank you very much.
How do we proceed here, Annaline? Has there been appeals?
Through you, there is no written appeals that have been received. The court can provide for non-written appeals to be accepted at the sitting of the court if they so wish at their call. I'm not sure if there's anyone here for the Drain 17 and or if they wish to make any verbal appeal.
So I don't believe there's anyone here to make an appeal. So there's really no reason for us to consider an appeal. So I'm going to move on along to the next item, and that is Trevor Kipfer. Have you got anything to add regarding appeals before the appeals before the court? Seeing no appeals, you likely don't have anything to add.
Yes, that's correct. There's nothing I have to report unless there's any other questions, but yeah, I have nothing to present for now.
So Trevor's been in this room before, enlightening us all on Drain 17, so we're all up to date on that. So let me just 1 second, please. So this court may give consideration to appeals, but we don't have any appeals, so we're going to go on to the decision of the court.
Through you,
Yes.
Chairperson, may I provide a decision?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you. You would need a mover and a seconder that Court of Revision accepts the assessment for municipal Drain 17 as presented.
Okay, so can I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Gunson. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Anderson. So I'm going to call the question on that. All in favor of that assessment? That's carried. Thank you. So now we have a resolution. So if there's no other issues, I'm going to adjourn this Court of Revision. Okay, Court of Revision is adjourned. So we're going to have a resolution here moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the town of Minto Council convene into Committee of Adjustment. All in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was short and sweet and very painless. And that's a good. It's a good thing to have. It just means that our engineer is doing a good job and communicating to the farmers that the drain affects, and so that's good. So, next item on the agenda, I'm going to chair this public meeting. I'm going to call it to order, and it has to do with Bob Bernard and Gabriella Goldsmith, 9568 O'Dwyer Road. It's MV 2023-11. I'm going to state that the public meeting, I'm going to state that any decision reached by this committee today cannot be used to set a precedent. Each application considered by the committee is dealt with on its own merits, and no two applications are exactly the same. The public hearing is to consider a minor variance application MV 2023-11, Bob Bernard and Gabriella Goldsmith. I'm going to call our Secretary Treasurer McRobb to enlighten us on some information.
Thank you, Chair Turton. The property subject to the proposed minor variance application are legally described as Concession 13, Part Lot 7, Registered Plan 61R6089, Parts 1 and 2, and Part 4, and is municipally known as 9568 O'Dwyer's Road in the town of Minto. The subject property is approximately 11.35 acres or 4.6 hectares in size. The purpose and effect of this minor variance application is to provide relief from Section 6.14G of the Town of Minto's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 01-86 as amended. Section 6.14G requires a minimum setback for a structure used for a home industry of 22.8 meters or 74.8 feet from a lot line and 121.9 meters, 400 feet from a lot line of a vacant lot, whereas a minimum of 18.8 meters, 61.68 feet, is proposed between the existing home industry structure and the newly severed lot line. A severance application B38-23 has been approved with conditions which sever a plus or minus 1 acre or 0.41 hectare vacant lot for proposed rural residential use and retains plus or minus 10.3 acres or 4.19 hectares with an existing and proposed rural residential use. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. The notices were mailed to the property owners within 200 feet or 60 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies, and posted on the subject property on August 11th, 2023. Reports were attached for council to review, including the town of Minto and Wellington County. I have not been advised of any speakers registered to participate in this public hearing.
Thank you, Annalene. Next item then is the Town of Minto's Planning Coordinator, Ashley Sawyer. Go ahead, Ashley.
Perfect, thank you. So council may recall the property previously coming before them regarding consent application B3823, which proposes to sever a 1 acre vacant rural residential lot and to retain approximately 10 acres with an existing rural residential use. The consent was granted conditional approval provided that the minor variance was applied for to reduce the minimum setback for a structure used for a home industry from a lot line and from a lot line of a vacant lot. With the proposed relief in existing setbacks, the absolute minimum distance between this existing structure and a new residential dwelling would be just over 70 feet. The home industry structure is approximately 1,200 square feet and was constructed in 2006. The owner has been operating a tool and die business since 1995, and the majority of the work on site is on site at factories to fix machinery. However, for more complex work, material may be brought home to repair in the structure, and that's generally what it's used for. There are currently no employees that work out of the home industry shop that are not residents of the property. Wellington County, Wellington Source Water Protection, and Saugeen Valley have all noted no concerns with recommending that the relief be approved. And town staff are satisfied as well that the proposed relief requested meets the 4 tests of the minor variance and are recommending it be approved. The home industry is an existing use. All other zoning provisions are proposed to be met, and it is consistent in town staff's opinion with the zoning bylaw and county official plan. And the recommendation is to receive this report for information and consider approving the requested relief with the condition that the relief strictly applies to the existing 1,200 square foot structure.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm going to give our owner applicant a chance to provide comments. Gabriel or Bob? Okay. So if you don't mind just stepping up to the mic, announcing who you are and wish us the best then.
Hi, my name is Bob Bernard, part owner of the question property, and yeah, we've been in business there since 2006. It's working great, no complaints from our neighbors, and we hope it goes well for our pursuit of severance, which is tied to this minor variance. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber today that wants to talk about this application? If not, then I'll ask council. Any questions to either Matt or Ashley or Gabriela or Bob? No questions? Okay. Then we really don't need a response, Bob, Gabriel. All right, then, over
Through
to you, Secretary Treasurer McRob.
Thank you, Chair Turton. I will read for you an approval for your consideration, if that's okay.
Yes.
That the Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment approves the application by Robert Bob Bernard and Gabriel Goldschmidt for property legally described as Concession 13, Part Lot 7, Register Plan 61R6089, Parts 1 and 2, and Part 4-4, municipally known as 9568 O'Dwyer's Road in the Town of Minto to provide relief from Section 6.14G of the Town of Minto's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 01-86 as amended for a minimum home industry setback of 18.8 meters or 61.68 feet.
Okay, I'd like a mover and a seconder for that motion. Thank you, Councillor Zimmerman. Councillor Elliott. Okay, you've heard the question. We've got a mover and a second. I'm going to call the question. All in favor of that motion?
Can I just raise a point? The
Yes.
highlighted line says that if we're opposed, we're to raise our hands, not
So,
in favor.
so we went for the one that approves, right?
That's
All
correct.
right,
We went
yeah.
for the one that approved.
So we're motioning in favor.
Yes,
Okay.
we don't want to raise our hand. Just ask anyone who's opposed to raise
Okay.
their hand.
I didn't see that, but I'm asking anybody that's against. I'm asking who's in favor, okay? So we're gonna pass this. Are we okay with that? Okay, we're in favor of the decision. We okay with that?
Yes, that's fine. And we will have
Okay.
to be signed by all members today.
Okay. So anyone wishing to receive a copy of the notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment in respect to the minor variance application must make a written request to the clerk of the Town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Hairston, NOG 1Z0, or by email at annaline@town.minto.on.ca. There's no further questions. I'm going to adjourn the public meeting. So thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. So good luck, you guys. You can stay and as long as you want.
Oh, we might say, just to make sure everything is up.
Okay, so we're going to move along here. I've got a resolution moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment convenes into the Committee of the Whole. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. So we have a public meeting here. Today, ZBA 2023-02, and it has to do with Braymark Homes. I'm going to act as the chair of the public meeting, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. And I'm just going to ask if everybody has signed in. I should have asked this before, but okay, all right. So if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the town of Minto before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the town of Minto to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and the person or public body may be added as a party of the hearing of the appeal before the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. So I'm going to ask Clerk McRobb to state the municipal address and the legal description of the property and the purpose and effect of the application.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. The property subject to the proposed amendment is located on Concession 1, Lot 23, Palmerston. The property subject, the zoning amendment is approximately 2.33 hectares or 5.76 acres in size. The purpose and effect of the proposed amendment is to rezone the subject lands from residential R1C, R2, and R3 to site-specific residential R3-XX to facilitate the construction of a 40-unit street townhouse and 60-unit cluster townhouse subdivision. The amendment is required to facilitate the proposed red line revision to draft approved planning of subdivision 23T 15004. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. The notices were mailed to the property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies, and posted on the subject property on August 11th, 2023. Reports and comments were received and attached for council to review, including comments from Wellington County, Town of Minto, Barry Highmiller, neighboring landowner, with a letter of support. And that's back to you.
Thank you, Annaline. So I'm going to ask our county planner, Mr. Matthew Daoud, to provide comments, and you have a microphone right in front of you. So go ahead, sir.
Perfect. Thank you, through you, Chair. Before you today, as mentioned, this is a zoning bylaw amendment seeking to rezone the subject lands from residential and open space to site-specific residential. The purpose of the meeting today is really to go over the proposal, allow an opportunity for the community, residents, and council to ask questions and seek information from the developer and consultants. So to give a quick overview of some of the background on the lands, the subject lands were brought into the Palmerston urban boundary in 2011 and later approved at the Ontario Municipal Board, OMB at the time, later that year. In 2016, a draft plan of subdivision was approved, which permitted 18 singles and 16 street townhouses on the lands. And in 2021, what is known as phase 2 of the project was added to the urban boundary in 2021 and later severed from the subject lands, which is phase 1. So as mentioned, the subject lands are designated residential in the county official plan. The applicant has submitted a zone amendment to, again, high level, permit 40 street townhouses and 60 stacked cluster townhouses. The site-specific zoning will include relief related to lot frontage, lot area, minimum front yard, minimum interior side yard, minimum exterior side yard, as well as max height. And figure 2 in my report provides a visual summary of the request in comparison to Minto's minimum zoning standards. In terms of next steps following the public meeting, staff will finalize a review of the proposal and zoning bylaw. We will report back to council at a later date with the proposed revisions, if any, based on this afternoon's discussion, and an amending bylaw will be provided for council's consideration at that time. With that said, I know the applicant's consultants are in attendance, so I'll pass the floor off to them, and I won't take any more of your time, so happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Matthew. I'm going to pass it over to Ashley Sawyer here, our Town of Minto Planning Coordinator, to give us her part of this. Go ahead, Ashley.
So I don't have much to say. I think Matt's covered it pretty well. And then, yeah, Genevieve from Questa Planning is here to provide you a presentation as well. And it gives some more visuals too.
Okay, thank you very much. Then Genevieve Scott, would you mind making your way to the mic and introduce yourself? And go ahead. From Vista Planning.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, yes, my name is Genevieve Scott, and I work for Quest Planning Consultants. And we have been retained by Remark Homes to assist them in processing the subject application, which is for a red line amendment to a draft plan of subdivision known informally as the Clark High Miller subdivision. So with me here today, I do have Mr. Brett Cormier from Remark Homes. If there's any questions that are specific to something he might be able to answer. And online, I believe, I do have Chris Togritz from Maritech Engineering as well, who can address any questions related to servicing management issues.
Is Chris there?
He's connected to me right now.
Okay.
If you have a question for him, I'll-
Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, so just a little bit of background to the proposal. So as noted by staff, the subject red line amendment proposal would increase the number of previously approved units from 42 to approximately 100 units. The development itself would consist of 7 street-facing townhome blocks and 3 stacked back-to-back townhome block units. There will be 1 local street and 1 storm management block. Each of the townhome units will be 3 stories and contain 3 bedrooms. That's the street-facing townhomes. The average frontage for those townhome parcels will be 6 meters with a average depth of 40 meters. And the average lot coverage for each unit would be approximately 30%. Each townhome will have a minimum of 2 parking spaces, and one which will be indoor, and one which would be a laneway parking space. These stacked townhome units are expected to be 4 stories and contain 2 or 3 bedrooms each. So just to review the site-specific relief we're looking for, it will be a site-specific relief from the R3 zone. And for the stacks, that will be a relief for a reduced, to recognize a reduced front yard setback, lot density requirement, and height provision, as well as to permit a new dwelling type, which is the back-to-back stacks, which is not contemplated in the zoning at this point in time. And for the street-facing townhomes, the required site-specific zoning will reflect some relief from lot frontage and side yard setbacks primarily, and this is for certain parcels, not for all of the parcels. So just to go back a little bit, we've completed some preliminary discussions with the county and town staff on a different red line submission, and modified the submission based on some of those discussions with planning staff at the time. And so the first primary change was the street layout. So the street layout that you're looking at now, there used to be a cul-de-sac sort of on the western side of it. Both the county and town staff preferred that be modified to proceed straight north from Ontario Street. And so that left us with the larger block there on the west, which was an opportunity to look at providing a different type of housing option in that area, which is why we went with some of the stacked back-to-backs in that portion of the site. The second request as part of the rezoning that came from town staff was to require a larger front yard setback for the street-facing units. And what that will do will provide more opportunity for off-street parking, which was a request of the town. So that was also will be included in the final design. As Matt quickly mentioned, the red line amendment that's before you today is the first phase of the development. Phase 2 is proposed just north of Phase 1. We have received a conditional approval for consent for that Phase 2, which will be it's about a 10.4 hectare parcel of land. And again, that forms a future phase of residential development. I should note that at the time of completing the servicing and stormwater management analysis, Meritech did take the numbers for Phase 2 into account when they were looking at the capacity and the sanitary and water systems of the town. So if we can just switch to the next slide. Just quickly, subject lands, they are in the northwest section of Palmerston. And the land area in total is 3.10 hectares in area. It's generally flat, and the laneway that goes up to the original farmstead splits the drainage on the site, and the overland flow is east and west to the low-lying southeast and southwest corners on the site. Historically, the site has been used for agriculture. The Heinmiller farmstead is situated to the north of the site. The on-site barn has been previously decommissioned. Land use to the south is single-family residential. East is a mix of residential and commercial, and to the west of the site is the West End Industrial Park. Now, as part of the original draft plan of subdivision, we were required to complete, there's going to be an attenuation berm that is added on the west side of the site in order to ensure that there's noise buffering from the light industrial uses to the west and the residential use. Just flip. Thanks. So just quickly, there is a very long history related to the redesignation of these subject lands. I won't get into that right now, but just briefly, as part of the original draft plan of subdivision, there was a special policy area that was added to the county OP to permit residential development at the site, subject to confirmation of servicing capacity. And this special policy area has been expanded recently by the county to include both the Phase 1 and 2 parcels. In 2021, Minto passed a bylaw to rezone the lands for residential purposes. And there's an open space zone, and that's for the stormwater block. And the open space zone also reflects that area that will have the attenuation berm on it, as I just mentioned. So as part of our complete application requirements, we were required to complete a number of technical reports and plans. So we have the red line draft plan, our report, the servicing report, which included a stormwater management strategy, as well as the transportation impact brief. And I just want to take you through some of our planning report findings. We just completed a summary of the technical reports and looked at how those will meet the relevant land use policies. So the first one, so just to, if everybody could just take a quick look at the screen, this is what these street townhomes are proposed to look like at site street-facing townhomes. So just quickly, the provincial policy statement directs growth and development to settlement areas. Section 1.1.3.2 states that densities are to be appropriate for and efficiently use existing infrastructure and avoid the need for uneconomical expansion. And so a servicing report was prepared by Meritech, and this, the background to that included consultation with the town and its peer reviewer, a background materials review, site visit, as well as downstream storm sewer investigation. So in regard to water and sanitary, it was concluded through this review that there is a sufficient reserve and storage capacity to support both phases of the proposed development, both for the sanitary sewer as well as the water servicing as well. The water main network will be looped. The primary network will be from Main Street, and the second main will be from Mary Street. And all of these servicing requirements and the schedule of these works would be established in the subdivision agreement.
So the next, well, I'll just flip to the next one after this, actually. Thank you. We also took a look at the traffic at this location. Another policy that needs to be considered is looking at the transportation system, ensuring that it is adequate and safe for existing and proposed uses. So the traffic brief for the development was completed by Paradigm Transportation Solutions. They looked at the current traffic conditions and operations, primarily at the intersection of Main and Ontario streets. And an analysis with a growth rate added to that was conducted. The brief did conclude that the study area intersections will operate to capacity up to 2026. As part of the phase 2 development, I would imagine there will be further review of this intersection, and it's expected that the developer will be working with the town to coordinate any upgrades or work that may be identified as necessary. We also took a look at stormwater, of course. The PPS requires us to stormwater planning to mitigate risk to human health, safety, as well as property. And Meritech did complete, again, consultation with the town and its peer reviewer and a downstream investigation in order to develop the overall stormwater strategy for the site. There will be a temporary stormwater facility will be used to service the lands north of phase 1, and that facility will eventually be combined with the phase 1 facility to create one large stormwater block for both phases. A dry pond is proposed for stage 1, and any flows exceeding the 100-year event, there will be an overland weir for those flows south to Main Street West. Subject to further investigations, it is expected that there will be some downstream infrastructure upgrades that would be incorporated into the subdivision agreement as well. And so the final key policy that we considered, of course, relates to housing policy. The PPS requires planning authorities to provide an appropriate range and mix of housing types and densities. And this provincial priority is reflected in the growth plan and subsequently within the County of Wellington official plan. As 89% of the county's population is to be directed to urban centers, and Palmerston's household growth projected to double from 2021 to 2051, providing affordable housing options as reflected by the subject proposal will assist in this provincial priority. The proposal meets or exceeds the County of Wellington's density targets and supports the provincial goals as well to allow for aging in place and the creation of complete communities. In closing, we feel that the subject proposal does fulfill density and servicing efficiency provisions. It provides new affordable housing options, which again, support the goals of complete communities, supports the goal of aging in place, and also reflects the main principle of development, which is really to accommodate urban growth within the settlement area. So that's it for me. Thank you very much. Just another note, that's a representation of what the stacked townhome units are going to look like at the site as well, the picture up there. So I don't have anything else to add. If people have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
So I'll ask first, anyone wishing to speak to the application? Seeing nobody here that might want to speak, I will move on to council then. Any of the council question for Genevieve? Go ahead, Councillor Dirksen.
Thank you, Mayor Tort. I'm curious about the stacked townhomes. Are they the same idea as the ones at the other end of town? With an apartment or a second dwelling on the lower level and then another townhome on the second and third level? Yes, okay.
essentially.
So Brett, would you mind just going to the mic, please, and state your name and who you're representing? Thank you. Genevieve, you can just stay there too if you want. Yep. Perfect.
Good afternoon. I'm Brett Cormier, so from Braymark Homes. I'm happy to answer any other questions also. And Councillor Dirksen asked if it was similar to the other side of town. I'm not sure about those ones. However, these ones, so the basement unit, what would be the basement, they are raised out of the ground, so maybe there's only about 4 feet. So the soil level maybe would be roughly here. So you would walk in those doors, walk down 7 or 8 steps, and you'd be at the lower unit. And then in that unit, you'd be able to walk up to the main floor, and that's your first unit. And then you'd go in that center door, and then you'd go up a flight of stairs, and then the second unit would be directly above that. So the second and third floor is another unit. So you would have 2 units amongst one sliver of townhome that you're looking at there.
And there'd be 2 floors for each.
2 floors for each,
For
both
each
around
home.
1,200 square feet each.
Oh, okay.
2 and 3 bedroom mixes. Typically there was a plan, the purchaser can choose, do I want 3 bedrooms, do I need 3 bedrooms, or do I want 2?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Anderson, go ahead.
Just talking about accessibility with the stairs and aging in place. How do people manage that?
So the only thing that we can do here is have lifts to the either up or down. Now, there's less stairs. Now, aging in place may be more difficult in a stacked townhome community. Now, if you're aging, that's probably not the product you're looking at. However, the other units in the subdivision, the towns, then they're very, very simple to age in place there. These ones might not be perfectly age in place unless you're fit and,
Oh, right, like, I'm just thinking about accessibility. You've got stairs to get into the building and stairs to get to any of the floors. That's
you're right.
not ideal for.
Not for aging in place, maybe in the stacked townhomes, but on the street towns, very, very doable. Because most of the site, I mean, this is a small, 60% of the site is stacked, 40% of the site is street towns. The street towns are standard
accessible?
townhomes.
There's
Yes.
stairs to get into them though?
Well, they're easily to build ramps. No, you can easily mitigate the stairs
Just
for
with
those.
an elderly population, then
Of
a lot
course.
of elderly people looking at moving from typical 2-story homes,
Of course.
accessibility is a key feature.
Now, these ones without a stair lift, then yes, it's not as manageable.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Zimmerman, did you have a question?
Well, sure, I could ask a question. Why not?
Thank you.
So I'm reading a report here from Maritech. It's an addendum to the stormwater system. And they're saying that they might downsize the storm retention pond. Is that what I'm reading? And if so, where does that water go? I know you said it goes to the main street, but like, does that affect the residential houses that are out in front of all that?
Chris maybe wants to answer that if he's able to.
Our engineers are on that. Yeah. Oh, that Chris. Okay, sorry, but I can just reassure from our perspective, our engineers are on that with him. So,
Okay. And one other question, in that same addendum,
So-
it's here saying that they are assuming the buildings would not be sprinklered. Is that true?
it will be built as per the building code. So, if the building code does not require sprinklers, then that will be the case. Correct.
From the perspective I bring, that's worrisome.
We could talk, but the building code does have other provisions in there about drywall and containing stuff and that. So, not too concerning from our perspective.
Sorry, and just to add too, this is just like the preliminary, preliminary discussion for the public meeting component. There is still a lot of details that will come and the detailed design and the draft endorsement and all of that before we get to a point where we would actually sign the subdivision agreement, so.
So we have Mr. Terry Kuipers on the screen, who's joined the meeting here as well. Chris, Terry, if there's something you guys have to add, just go ahead, please.
Just a couple of things from my perspective. Like Chris Harrow mentioned, buildings of that size typically aren't sprinklered. They're loaded with fire separations, firewalls, all that sort of thing, which basically compensates for the sprinkler requirements. Further to Councillor or Deputy Mayor Anderson's question about accessibility, I just would like to note that as soon as a building contains more than 6 units, 25% of those units need to be accessible. So I didn't do a number count in terms of what each block has, but there is the potential for the developer to provide accessible units.
And then if I can jump
Okay,
in and
questions? Go ahead,
address
Councillor Elliott.
the first question now,
when
if
do you
you,
expect
would
Sorry,
like.
pardon me.
What-
Let
sorry.
Chris, would you mind if Chris went ahead of you?
Sure.
Okay,
I'd be glad
thank
to.
you.
Most people are.
Thank you. I'm also looking in the addendum letter that I prepared, commenting on the change from townhouses and a bulb to the condo block that you see in front of you now. I don't see the same wording as you. I apologize that the pond would be shrunk. The intent of this letter was just to demonstrate that the effect of adding a condo block onto the entire subdivision was minimal. And what I think I wrote and what I think I'm reading now is that the impact in terms of stormwater management is indeed minimal, and that if through the detailed design phase for the site plan block, for the condo block, it's found that there is some additional imperviousness, some hard surfaces that that we're not thinking would be there today, some extra sidewalks or some paved areas, and somehow or other, the math doesn't work out perfectly, and the end of pipe pond isn't quite big enough at the end of the day. What I wrote there is that at the site level on that condo block, there are a couple things that we can easily do to store a little bit of water to make sure that that end of pipe pond for the subdivision isn't negatively impacted.
Thank you, Chris. Councillor Elliott, go ahead.
Thanks so much. When this political deal and everything is passed through, when do you hope to get shovels in the ground to start this?
We had planned for next year. I mean, obviously, given the environment, and it's hard to predict exactly what is gonna. So
You're hoping as soon as
my business is
possible.
building houses.
Yeah, so
I
you
don't
want to do
sit
it,
at home.
you want to do it as soon as possible, then you
So I
say?
want to build some houses, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great town to do it in.
Sure. I think so too.
I think, through your chair, Terry and I had spoken a little bit about this right off the get-go with respect to a pre-servicing agreement. So even if we don't have the subdivision agreement in place, you know, we could hit the ground running with getting the site prepared with a pre-servicing agreement. So one way or the other, we hope to get started sooner than later.
It's pretty amazing, you know, when you look back to 2011, thinking ahead 12 years or 13, whatever, intensification. I mean, it was the original 42, phase 1 was 42, and now we've bumped. And that just seems to be where we're headed.
Mhm.
And I'm sure, Matthew, you see that all over the place. Yeah, so is there any other questions? Okay. Hearing none. I'm going to state, just 1 second here, like catch up. Everybody's had a chance to speak. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Council of the Town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the Clerk of the Town of Minto, 5941 Highway 89, Hairston, NOG 1Z0, or by email at annaleen@town.minto.on.ca. So if there's no further questions, everybody's happy, I'm going to adjourn this public meeting. So thank you very much for all the information today. You know, 13 years to be on any piece of dirt to get a house on it, we're still a few years off, is what you're saying. So, but thank you for coming. Nice meeting you folks. And if you want to stay, you can, if you've got other work to do. All right, thanks a lot. So we have a delegation today. We have, we'd like to welcome Sarah Bauer-Peters from Wellington Crime Stoppers. Sarah, you've been here before.
I have, and I appreciate the opportunity to come back and visit some familiar faces, some new ones. It's always a nice chance to catch up.
It was nice visiting with you at our Solidarity event.
That's right, yes,
So-
yes.
So thank you. Welcome, and you have a presentation, so go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with council, staff, everyone listening to this meeting. The reason I'm here today is to just provide an update, or for some of you, an introduction to the work that Crime Stoppers Guelph Wellington does. And maybe we'll just jump into the presentation. So Crime Stoppers Guelph Wellington was founded in 1988 here in County of Wellington. This year marks our 35th anniversary. We're proud to have represented our communities for the past 35 years. Just a refresher, most people are aware of this, but in case you were confused, we are not the police. We are a separate organization. We work apart from the police. We have a great relationship with the police, but not everyone does, and we understand that. We are a registered charity with a board of directors that service us from throughout the city of Guelph and County of Wellington. They donate their time and talent to our organization. We offer an anonymous and confidential method of reporting crime, which is very important to empower people to do the right thing and report crime that's happening within our communities. We offer a cash reward if an arrest is made. And of course, we rely on fundraisers and donations from the community to fund those rewards, because as a charitable not-for-profit organization, that is how we finance the program. We do not use tax dollars, to be clear, okay? So just a quick overview of some of our stats, because we can't speak to the specific cases that we assist in providing tips, but we can talk about our stats. So starting as of 1988, we've had more than 28,000 tips to our program, more than 1,500 arrests as a result of the information we've received. More than 2,300 cases have been cleared, with resulting in more than 4,500 charges being laid. As a result of tips, more than $10 million in property has been recovered, more than $27 million in narcotics have been recovered, for a total of an excess of $38 million. We've approved, our board of directors rather, have approved more than $183,000 in rewards over the past 35 years. And just last year alone, it was almost $5,000. So you can see the importance that fundraisers play for our organization to make sure we have money in the bank to pay those rewards, okay? Which segues nicely into the fundraising talk. Just, you can see there we had a donation from 100 Women Who Care Rural Wellington that have supported us, a familiar face in that photo there as well. And we also have on the right-hand side there our shredding event. That is last year's Mount Forest shredding event, which is crucial to prevent and reduce the chance of being a victim of identity theft, as well as being a great fundraiser for the program. Okay. So we recently developed 5 tips, 5 ideas, and 5 signs, which was funded through 100 Women Who Care Rural Wellington. This particular initiative we are very proud of, because during the pandemic, we saw more and more that young people were being engaged online. They were having to spend a lot of time online, and parents were not seeing the same things, the patterns that our police investigative partners were seeing, which is predators were reaching out to young people through the internet. So what we did is we developed this presentation, 5 tips on how to talk to kids about cyber safety and human trafficking, 5 ideas on how to keep your child cyber safe and human trafficking aware, and then 5 signs that your child is being groomed. And it's just as important now as it was last year when we launched this, and we've had a tremendous response to this initiative, and we thank 100 Women for their support. Okay. So we had, through their funding, we were able to do radio and video initiatives, as well as pushing that information out to the parents with print materials. We know that young people are aware of the grooming that's happening. When I do student presentations in classrooms, they all know what I'm talking about now when we talk about direct messaging and the way predators engage with them. It's the parents that we have to reach out to, because they were very much thinking, well, my child would never. And it's not about what your child is doing, it's about what a predator would be doing. So that's why we continue to put this messaging forward. And again, with today being back to school day, that's more important than ever. We keep in touch with our young people and know who they're talking to online. Okay. We launched another presentation, Fraud Talk, which has been tremendously successful earlier this year in time for Fraud Prevention Awareness Month. That was funded through the Ministry of the Solicitor General, and it was a two-part grant in partnership with, No Room for Hate, which is launching this week. This is hate crime initiative, and again, a lot of people don't feel that hate crime happens in Wellington County, but I think we know from recent reports and from incidents that have happened nearby that hate crime is absolutely something that happens in small communities as well. So part of our push for this awareness campaign is to increase awareness of what hate crime is and to provide supports for victims of hate crime and encourage people to report it when they are aware of it, anonymously and confidentially, of course, through Crime Stoppers. Okay. We have a full roster of additional programming, including Crime Stoppers 101 for people who want to know how the program started and how to report a tip, a seniors-directed Crime Stoppers, a student-directed Crime Stoppers, and then human trafficking awareness, including Educate Parents and Children Together, a community-based human trafficking presentation, and a youth-directed human trafficking presentation. Okay. A recent human trafficking initiative that was well received was, again, through the Ministry of the SolGen, partnership with Wellington County OPP, Victim Services Wellington, and of course Crime Stoppers. We were able to launch human trafficking in Wellington County. This is a road sign that is still, I don't know who's paying for this road sign still, but it's still there. Very appreciative, but it's on Highway 6 if you're southbound out of Mount Forest. So if you see it, that sign's been through a lot. We had a tornado that touched down there last year or the year before, and that sign had to be relocated. Well, almost was located because of that weather event. But anyway, I encourage you to check out our YouTube channel because there's some really interesting and engaging YouTube videos there that tie into the Human Trafficking in Wellington County initiative. Okay. We've also launched a new road sign campaign. This was just this past May, and as you can see, if you're familiar with our previous Crime Stoppers look, the white with the logo, this is very much a departure, but it seems to be getting some traction, and people are able to pick from a variety of themes if they want to partner with us on a road sign. You can see at the bottom there is where our advertising sponsorship would go. Okay. Just a quick overview. Since the last time we visited, we've received some awards. This past year was the Ontario Association of Crime Stoppers. They're listed there, as well as Crime Stoppers International. These are 2021 awards. Okay. And then this past June, we hosted the Ontario Conference, which was quite a feather in our cap because this is the first in-person conference since 2019. And the provincial body wanted to get back in person in real time, and we were able to put together a one-day event in less than 100 days. So definitely pulled out all the stops for that. And at that event, we were actually receiving awards, which are listed there on the screen. Very proud of the work. And the reason we put that out for public consumption is to remind people that the work we're doing locally is being recognized provincially and internationally. Okay? So I know there could be questions. But before we get to your questions, I have a couple of my own. First of all, how can the municipality increase awareness of Crime Stoppers Guelph Wellington? We are here to keep the community safe. We know that's a priority for you as well. How can we partner together? Is there a local volunteer you feel would be a fit for the Crime Stoppers Guelph Wellington Board of Directors? Is there someone who is really engaged and looking to give back to their community? Is there someone that you could connect us with that you feel would represent the town of Minto? Is there a presentation we could offer to council or staff? You saw the list that we have there. We're happy to work with you to present or to offer those presentations. Is there a partnership we could develop between the municipality and Crime Stoppers Guelph Wellington? Again, we pride ourselves on being able to develop initiatives that are reflective of the community's needs, and I'd be happy to do that with the town of Minto. Is there an area you would like to see Crime Stoppers Guelph Wellington assist the municipality? For example, we've had some municipalities that are having issues with bylaw and they would like signage posted, and we can provide that in partnership and make sure that our website and our phone number is available to the public to reduce damage or illegal dumping, that type of thing. And finally, are you following us on social media? Because we are posting all of the time, and I really hope you are, because there's lots of great content that could be shared with your followers as well. So food for thought, or ponder on that and let me know how you feel about that, and would be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Questions? Sarah? Go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
Hi, Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm well, how are you?
Good. What the question I have is if a report is going in, is there feedback to that person that does a report that something is being done about it? I reported some drug use or something and knew the person and pass that on. Do I get feedback? Yeah, we are working towards that, or you've received that information?
Sure, through you, sir. There would be feedback in that if you call and follow up, because it's only a one-sided relationship. It's a bad relationship where you have to keep calling us. We're never going to call you. But if you keep checking with us and provide additional information, at that time we can let you know whether or not your information has led to an arrest. If there's an update in the investigation, we don't provide those simply because we would not want to do anything that would jeopardize an investigation, and it's very important for us to be responsible with the relationship we have with our police partners, and not disclose anything that could be an overshare, or, as I say, anything that would jeopardize the overall investigation.
The reason I ask is I think it would be a motivation if you think you're doing right by your community or right by the person that's doing it, that they have some feedback. Yes, something's been done and you've done a good thing.
Again, it would be up to the tipster to follow up with us, and then they would be advised that their information has led to an arrest and they qualify for a cash reward. We can't reach out to the tipster, but if they follow up with us and say, hey, has there been an arrest? We can say yes or no.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Anderson.
So the human trafficking, how prevalent an issue is that in our area today?
Very.
Really?
Yes.
So is it possible to ask, is it appropriate to ask if we could have more information from them about that? Because I think I'm one of those people that hides my head in the sand and says that doesn't happen.
Well, I was asked once in a public forum, how soon can I assume my child would be exposed to a groomer online? And it would be within seconds of them starting an account. It's been proved repeatedly. It's easy to go onto, I believe there's a documentary by Bark Technologies where they actually go undercover as a child that's like 8, 10, 15 years of age. And it shows within seconds there are individuals trying to engage with that young person in an explicit manner.
So they're engaging, or they're signing into an account, into a Facebook account?
It can be Facebook.
I'll apologize for my ignorance
That's
here,
okay.
because it's way out of my
No.
realm of.
Basically, any social media platform or online gaming platform that has a direct messaging component is currently being used to engage with young people by predators. So if it's Roblox or Minecraft, all of those, people think it's just social media. It's not. It's also online gaming. But again, when I first started talking about human trafficking in 2017, I had a lot of pushback because people thought I was being exploitive and disgusting and all that type of thing. Now I go into classrooms and the kids are like, oh yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. Here, I can show you how many direct messages I have of photos of body parts that are being sent to me because I'm being exposed to this through direct messaging.
So that they're assuming that the people that are on there are young, or like you can't tell what the age of somebody on Facebook is, can you? Unless they have their profile.
Usually they can tell pretty quickly based on a profile picture or the information that they post about themselves. It's not hard to pick out that this is a young person, and then once they start posting, they can also see the content that the young person is posting, and that's also an indicator.
So is their ultimate goal to get this person to trust them, and they need, like, I'm not making the connections here.
It can be
rather naive.
No, that's okay. It can be anything as simple as send me a photo of you. I want a photo of you that I can have, and then that becomes a blackmail tool for extracting other information, videos, photos, or it can be developing a relationship so that you'll meet me in person somewhere, and that's oftentimes an opportunity for them to engage with the child in person.
Gina, I would suggest every one of us just go to the human trafficking YouTubes. It's absolutely, I mean, I watched them and they're not funny. It's sick sickening.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah,
just sort of.
there's all kinds of answers there.
And I work in an emergency department, like I'm exposed to all kinds of stuff, but
Yeah.
this is out of my realm.
It's increasing in frequency simply because our young people so back in the day, we would tell young people, don't talk to strangers.
Yeah.
If a car pulls over, don't get in the van. If you go to a park, just play with your friends. Don't talk to anybody you don't know. Kids aren't going to the park anymore, respectfully. They're not engaging separately the way in person the way they do online. So we give them a cell phone or a laptop or a tablet or some kind of device, and basically you're giving them the opportunity to engage with anyone in the world. And the analogy I like to give is you wouldn't just give your child, keys to the vehicle and just tell them to go wherever they want to go. So why are we giving them cell phones and tablets without having some kind of, parameters about who they can engage with online? And so it does tie into cyber safety for sure. But that's why we're trying to talk to parents as well, because the kids are already aware because it's happening to them. And there is more engagement at school with curriculum. So now we're trying to let parents know, don't think your child is being bad because this is happening to them. It's a case of it's happening to all of the kids. And I say that sincerely. Most children have received an explicit DM from someone wanting them to reciprocate.
That's disturbing, but thank you for the information.
Sorry.
Other questions for Sarah? So Sarah, when we go back to the questions that you proposed to us, we likely should go through each one and see how we as a council or a town can help. I'm sure there has been help, but I mean, you expect support every year.
Anything that you're offering or interested in furthering the relationship, we're happy to do. Like I say, this is just a great opportunity. I know there's been an election since I've been here last, and for some people, this may be the first time you've heard of Crime Stoppers Guelph Wellington. So that's why I wanted to come back and see if there are any opportunities that may have, be able to present themselves since I've been here last.
So is there something burning that we need to be aware of, where adults hit us with it? If there's something that we're doing, that we're not doing, or we're doing that we should be doing, how can we help?
It's just about increasing awareness, to be honest. Our website, csgw.tips, has a lot of this information, or the partnering websites like the HT and WC campaign. So if we can find a way to increase awareness and generate support through volunteerism, that would be tremendous.
Presently, do we have a volunteer on the CSGW board of directors from up around this area?
One member who I'm not sure how long he's going to be able to stay in this area. And the requirement is he must live or be employed in the city of Guelph, County of Wellington to sit on our board of directors.
Gotcha. Okay. Other questions? Well, thank you very much for coming. And I don't know, again, I don't know when the last time was you were here, but you're welcome anytime. And I mean, this is, after watching the YouTubes, what I watched, I mean, every one of our kids, and they're not, whoever these predators are, they're not particular at what age they.
No. We know of situations in our partnership with Victim Services that children as young as 8 years of age have been groomed. So, and they take years to do it. They aren't looking for a couple of days to interact with these young people. They'll take years to do it as well. So, but I don't want to leave things on a down note. If it's okay with council, I'd love to get a photo with the Crime Stoppers flag that we can use on our website and our social media, if that's okay. All right?
Yeah, we talked about that, and that's okay.
Okay.
I think we did, didn't we, Annalene?
If council members wanted to stand down in front.
Yes.
And I can take up the photo if you'd like. I'll come down and grab your phone.
Let's go down in front. We don't really want you to. Jeez.
It's good to get up and stretch anyways. Speak for a while. I did. It's good that you didn't wear the shorts. Yeah. Okay, very good. Here you go, folks. It's in there tight, you get in there too? Oh, okay, sorry. Sideways, is it okay? That would be great, yes, thank you. Right here. Do 4 or 5.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Very much appreciated.
We have a right way around?
Okay. Yes, we're good.
I didn't check.
Nice, eh? Like it? That's a great piece. Did you see it?
Just. Sprains can be worse than
And Sarah, you're welcome to stay as long as you want as well.
It's riveting.
Maybe in January.
Okay.
Again, public question.
We have public question period.
Cool, eh?
Okay. And now we're moving into the correspondence. Have 3, 4, 5, 6. I have a recommendation moved by Councillor Zimmerman, second by Councillor Elliott, that the council receive the correspondence as information. Is there any correspondence that anyone wants to talk about? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Should we be discussing the Building Faster Fund? Or do we want to leave that alone?
No, I think we discussed this earlier, and our treasurer, Mr. Duff, can you enlighten us on this?
Very little. This was announced at AMO, I presume, but it covers the 90% of the municipalities that have housing targets. A lot of the smaller ones like us do not have a target. So all we know is 10% of the total envelope is reserved for that. We know no other details. This is just me speculating. It'll probably be a formula, something like our OCIF grant, kind of a mixture of population, perhaps infrastructure, perhaps household income, but I have not seen any details on it. So to be announced later, I presume.
It was an interesting stat, though, in the growth plan that 89% of the population growth in county is to be directed to the urban centers, such as Palmerston. And if 89%, those two numbers just don't add up, Gord, 89% and 10%. But anyways, we'll,
I think they were referring to the specific targets. You know how last week, I think they had another 21 municipalities like, no, Orangeville, you must build 3,300 units in 20 years or something, which they haven't got. I think Kincardine might have even been on the list, but they haven't got down to the Mintos of the world yet.
So what happens if you miss your target?
I guess you don't get the money because it's
Oh,
contingent.
zero.
It's a carrot and stick, right? So that this is the way, if you build as many houses as we think you can, then we'll support you.
And
And
they
if you
can say it
don't,
'cause they know our capacity of our water systems and our sewer systems and our hospital systems.
seemingly,
Looked at all that, right?
oh, I'm sure they have.
Okay.
okay, so we'll leave that in as information. I mean, the other one there is the newsletter from the seniors center is always good. You can mail that to some of our people. So I'm going to, any others that we want to discuss? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor of accepting the correspondence? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, so reports. There is no committee minutes for approval. Staff reports. I'll ask Belinda to enlighten us on the Palmerston Industrial Park agreement and purchase of sale of 260-9861 Ontario Limited. Go ahead, Belinda, please. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks, Mayor Turton. Good afternoon, everyone. I will keep this brief, keep us on track. Bringing forward finally this agreement of purchase of sale for 460 Minto Road. As you know, we've been in talks with Jeremy for almost a year coming on, I guess, and had a few first right extensions. So happy to bring this forward today. We would be looking to close this deal on January 24th of 2024 and starting construction shortly after in April, which meets our development covenants. The proposed buildings, you'll see at the beginning of the report, it was noted about initially being 6 buildings, each 6,400 square feet. That plan has changed. It'll be 2 buildings totaling about 24,000 square feet, which comes in at 14.4% of lot coverage. As you're aware, 15% is our normal standard. And not so much due to the size of the lot, but I guess the layout of this lot is a bit awkward. So for truck turnarounds and everything like that, we're okay with this 14.4% lot coverage. And the layout is shown there to give you an idea of what that would look like on the site. It is 3.83 acres in size, and our asking price is $60,000 an acre. You will note that the survey markers had disappeared over the time since we had completed the survey. And in order to do the due diligence on this property, that cost was incurred by Mr. Metzger. And so we've lowered the price slightly to account for that, because we would have had to do it anyway if somebody else was purchasing it. So the purchase price for this lot we're proposing is $225,000. And that's what we're bringing forward today.
Questions for Belinda? I was reading an article not too long ago about one of the other municipalities in Wellington. They're at $450,000 per acre in their industrial park.
Makes a difference when you're closer to the 401.
That's the big difference, right? So I have a recommendation. Sorry, no questions for Belinda. Moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Elliott, that the Council of the Town of Minto receive report ECDV DEV 2023-020 regarding the sale of land in the Palmerston Industrial Park to 2609861 Ontario Limited. Further, that Council considers a bylaw in open session authorizing the Mayor and the Clerk to sign the agreement of purchase and sale. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. So is there 2 lots left in our industrial park?
Yes, 420, which is the lot beside 460 at the back, and then 340 Minto Road, which was the 1 acre parcel. And we have had some interest in both of those parcels, but then, yeah, that will be it for our service land.
Okay. Thank you. Next item is the site servicing agreement, 69 Allen Street West, and I'll ask Ashley to go ahead with that.
I have actually given this one to Terry.
Oh, you did?
So he's
Okay.
on the line, yeah.
Terry, you on the line?
I am on the line, and sorry, I will, I will run this one, this report. So good afternoon, Mayor Turton and members of council. You will recall that the severance applications came forward to council at a previous meeting for this property under applications B44 to B48 of 23. The purpose of the severance applications were to subdivide the property into 3 vacant residential parcels fronting on Allen Street, and 1 parcel with an existing single-family dwelling, which is to remain, as well as a drainage easement, and then the owners retaining the ownership of the agricultural land. Council did provide recommendation to the Land Division Committee to approve the applications with our certain conditions. The key one, and why I'm coming forward to you with this report tonight or this afternoon, is for the servicing conditions. The residential lots are currently not serviced by municipal water, are serviced by municipal water, but the sanitary sewer main doesn't extend across the frontage of these lots. Town staff as well as council staff are not in favor of lot creations without availability of municipal services. However, the parcel that we're talking about tonight with the existing dwelling unit can be treated slightly different. The severance applications for the vacant lots cannot be completed until the sanitary main has been extended across the frontage of those lots, strictly and solely at the owner's cost. The existing dwelling unit is serviced by municipal water currently and also has a private septic system. And staff reviewed the existing systems and connections and felt that there wasn't a risk to allow the lot to continue to be operated as it is until such a point that the sanitary main has been extended. It has functioned this way for a number of years. And town staff felt that the servicing agreement would provide the provisions for the connections to be made at a time in the future. Being that the owner has indicated that he wants to extend or install the sanitary main as soon as he gets approvals. But in the event that that doesn't happen, at least the town is protected with that lot and future owners to provide that connection. As identified in my report, the main provisions within the agreement that you'd be interested in to ensure that the sanitary connection is made. Town is requiring that a security amount of 15,000 be posted to the town and held by the town until the works are completed. The agreement allows for the town to enter onto the property to complete any works that are not completed under the terms of the agreement. Also requires that the existing septic system be decommissioned within 30 days of the connection. And also the agreement is binding on future heirs or assigns and will also be registered on title. That is really all the main points that I would like to make, but if there's any questions, am free to answer them.
Questions for Terry? It sounds pretty straightforward, Terry. That's understandable. So the recommendation is moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Gunson. Council of the Town of Minto receives report PLN 2023-039 regarding the site servicing agreement, 69 Allen Street West, and further that the council considers passing a bylaw in regular session authorizing the mayor and the clerk to sign the single with the site servicing agreement. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you very much, Terry.
Perfect, thank you.
Have a nice time. Okay, the next item then is the Right Haven Homes, 182 Bridge Crescent, Palmerston. It's part lot control 2023-03, and I'll ask Ashley to enlighten us on this. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor Turton. So as mentioned, this report is regarding a part lot control exemption application for 182 Bridge Crescent in the new Creekbank Meadows subdivision in Palmerston. So the developer is in the process of completing the construction of the 10 stacked home dwelling units, each with the accessory apartment. Council may recall the property previously coming before them regarding a draft plan of common elements condominium to establish a private internal road network servicing and landscaped areas. So this portion is really more administrative, as it will allow the division of the original lot to be legally split into 10 separate parcels of tied land, which can be sold with distinct and separate ownership. So essentially you can buy your unit and you're all linked to the one condominium road. Town staff have reviewed the application and no concerns were noted. The draft plan of condominium conditions are still effective, and once those conditions are cleared, the development will come back before council for the final time for a condominium agreement to be entered into. We are recommending that council receives this report for information and considers passing a bylaw in open session to authorize the use of part lot control. If approved by council, it would then go to the county for their sign off and then to the lawyer for registration.
Hey, we have a recommendation moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The Council of the Town of Minto receives report plan 2023-040 regarding PLC 2023-03 Right Haven Homes for lands being Block 26, Plan 61M-222, more particularly described as parts of 1 to 23, included according to reference plan 61R 22495, Town of Minto, County of Wellington, with the municipal address of 182 Bridge Crescent in the Town of Minto for information, and considers passing a bylaw in open session. Questions for Ashley? We talk about the stacked townhouses. They will always be sold. They're 5 wide. There's 2 buildings. They'll always be sold as, you could call them a duplex or a semi, because they've got the apartment in the basement and the living quarter up top.
Yep. So yeah, it would be 10. The accessory apartment, each one will stick with the main unit.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you very much. We'll move along to the second one then. That's the King Hotel in Palmerston. Plan 2023-041. B6023-142-4149 Ontario Limited, commercial severance at 112 King Street, 122A. Go ahead, Ashley.
Perfect, thank you. So as mentioned, this report is regarding a severance for the King Hotel property. The King Hotel, most of you may know, is actually located partially within North Perth, which is in Perth County, and partially within the town of Minto in Wellington County. So this proposal is to sever approximately 2.67 acres of vacant commercial land that's solely within Palmerston, and the existing commercial use, which is the King Hotel, will remain as it is. So town staff are of the opinion that the severance is consistent with provincial policy and the County of Wellington's official plan. Some conditions we're recommending are outlined in the report more specifically, but they pertain to the applicant confirming that they're aware that site plan control would be required to a building permit issuance. So that's where you get into the more detailed technical components. That's where you'd be reviewing like your traffic study, your stormwater management report, all of that stuff. The town is also asking for legal confirmation that the 122A parcel, which fronts right onto King Street and is to be used as a servicing corridor, is legally merged with the King Hotel property, just being that we don't want to create, an extra lot, but we want to make sure that they're all together prior to site plan control. Town staff are in favor of an access easement. So right now, the existing entrance, there's a picture in the report, but it's kind of like a boulevard style down the middle, and we're asking that that remain as the primary entrance also for the vacant commercial land. The reason being that the parcel that hooks into King Street, that's the 122A, a driveway through that would be over the servicing corridor. It would be close to neighboring residences, and we had concerns that car lights would be shining into the dwelling across the street. So we are asking for an access easement so that the existing King Hotel access is what is used for both commercial properties. We are also asking, which is a standard condition, that the owner must confirm that they are aware that any servicing and right-of-way works are their sole financial responsibility, and that they are aware of any town policies and procedures that they must follow. We are also asking that a servicing plan and report be provided to and approved by the town. Right now, there are some servicing easements proposed, which generally town staff are not supportive of, and our position remains unchanged at this point in time. We would like to see each lot serviced individually. This report will outline why or why not that won't be possible. But yeah, it's something that we want looked into farther. And there are also concerns that the existing sanitary service that serves the hotel and is proposed to be extended to serve the commercial lot may not be adequate. But again, that servicing plan, we're satisfied would cover that. So we are satisfied with the recommended conditions outlined in the report, and we're recommending the Land Division Committee considers approving the requested relief with the conditions proposed. And I'm here, and Terry's here if you have any questions as well.
Okay, so the recommendation is moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the Council of the Town of Minto recommends to the County of Wellington Land Division Committee approve consent application B6023-142-4149 Ontario Limited, care of Avtar Sandhu, with municipal address of 112 and 122A King Street in the town of Minto, and that the following conditions be made. Questions for Ashley? Okay, that's a big step going forward. I know we've been talking about that property for a few years. It'll be interesting to see what the land division says.
For sure.
All in
Right.
favor of the motion? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to pass the chair to Councillor Gunson.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. So today we've got one report, and it's municipal drain number 17 tender results. And we got Mr. McIsaac here to present that.
Thank you, Chair Gunson. So just a quick report on the tender results for municipal drain 17, which just had the quarter revision earlier this afternoon. We did receive 3 tenders, 2 local companies, Listowel and Drayton, and then Robinson Farm Drainage came in low bid from Melissa Craig. Is there any questions with this report?
So I'll read the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Zimmerman, second by Councillor Elliott. The Council of the Town of Minto receives report PW 2023-017 regarding municipal drain 17 tender results, and the Council of the Town of Minto awards a contract to Robinson Farm Drainage Limited for total price of $105,300, excluding HST, upon the endorsement of the third reading of the associated bylaw 2023-049. Any questions?
Thanks, Chair. Have we used Robinson before?
No, we have not, no. They're well-known in the industry for sure. It's good.
Thank you.
Any other questions? See none? All in favor? We're on, Glenn, but that is passed. I'm going to pass the chair to Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Thank you. And I'm going to pass the chair to, or pass this over to Chris Harrow to present the Q1 and Q2 update for fire 2023.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Anderson. Yeah, just a quick report to show you where we're at for the first half and a little bit this year. We been a little tardy in getting this report to you, but this is more or less where we are for the first half and what we've been doing. Things are pretty much kind of returning back to normal with staff, but we are in the process of onboarding 7 new recruits. And our calls are holding steady as compared to other years. But the complexity of some of our calls have been significant. So a few more fires and bigger fires that we've been assisting on, not in Minto, but helping other municipalities with, have been there. And then for the fall, we have coming up, obviously Fire Prevention Month is October. We have our Santa Claus parades that we're gearing up for, as depressing as that is. Let's talk about snow. And yeah, tanker shuttle reaccreditation is happening in a couple weeks. And our annual extrication day is also in September that we have with Conestoga College paramedic students, which is a big day that we host as well. So ongoing recruitment as always, lots happening.
Are there any questions for Chief Harrow? I would just like to make a comment of thanks to the fellows, all of them and ladies, who are part of our volunteer fire department, because the work that they do is invaluable and frequently not very pleasant. And I appreciate their efforts. Sorry, Councillor Dirksen?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Anderson. I was just going to comment that this is the most concise report I've ever seen in my whole entire life, and I like it.
To the point.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'm just going to read out the recommendation is moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor Elliott. The Council of the Town of Minto receives report fire 2023-002 regarding the Q1 and 2 update as information. All of those in favor? And that's passed. And I'll pass the chair back, over to Councillor Dirksen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Anderson. And I will call on our Treasurer Gordon Duff to bring us the report on some office equipment, please.
Great. Thank you, Chair Dirksen. So we put out an RFQ for the multifunction copiers, both the one here at the office and at the Palmerston Fire Hall. Our deadline was just before our previous council, so that's why it's coming to us now. We were fortunate to receive 5 bids from, say, across Southern Ontario. I think all the manufacturers and companies were capable of meeting our needs. We had a lot of specific requirements and we all met them. And then Mark and I kind of developed a criteria, again, qualitative and price. And that basically when you're leasing a photocopier, you have the 2 components. You have your flat lease for basically having the equipment there. And then it's a per usage charge per copy for color in black and white. And I think the bids were quite competitive. But in the end, Xerox Canada came in a little bit lower than the other ones. And we're recommending we go with that. Again, this is a little happier than most of the equipment and vehicles we buy. Photocopiers seem to get better and better at usually a reduced price. And this has been, think of you're basically buying a computer, and they become more and more integrated with that. So Anybody will entertain any questions or?
Any questions? Can you maybe, because we didn't choose the lowest for monthly cost.
That's right.
So that's because of the combination of
Yes.
leasing and the number of copies. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. The lowest cost was about $188, but they came in. Well, one didn't supply us enough information to make a decision, but when we take that one out, the lowest monthly became the second highest in total when we add the per copy charge. So we had two that were very close, like within $12. And we had manufacturers, we had Canon, Xerox, Kyocera, and Sharp. So they're all kind of well-known brands in that, but that's the thing, you can't just look at the flat cost, because it's, I guess two cards are the same, and one takes premium and one's regular, so.
Right.
Look at the combined.
Yeah, but it's all money out, so that's why you
True.
have to look at the process you did. So, okay, great. I'll read the recommendation. It's moved by Councillor Elliott and seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson that the Council of the Town of Minto receives report finance 2023-012 regarding the multifunction copiers and service RFQ and awards the contract to Xerox Canada. Make sure you're all awake. Is there anyone opposed? Everybody's awake. Excellent. Okay, thank you. That passes, and I'll pass the chair back to the mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dirksen. We're moving right along here to the 2023 schedule for the Christmas office closure, 2024 council meeting schedule, and the 2024 volunteer appreciation dinner. And I'll ask Quinn Porter to take us through this.
Yeah, we've just rolled everything into one this year. So this is a report that we bring forward every year to set the council meeting calendar for the next year, as well as the office closure for the upcoming holiday season. So as you can see, next year's proposed schedule follows that of previous years, with meetings taking place on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except in July and August when we only hold one meeting. And then the schedule has been altered in October and November to accommodate the budget process, as well as in January to account for the office closure. So each year the municipal office closes for a period between Christmas and New Year's to allow staff time to spend with their families. During this period, certain staff remain available to work, including those in public works and community services, to ensure that essential services are still provided to the public and to honor legacy bookings in our facilities. Occasionally, administrative staff will still come into work to ensure business functions are completed as well, things like payroll, year-end, month-end. So this year we are proposing to close the office at 5 p.m. on Friday, December 22nd, and reopen on Tuesday, January 2nd at 8:30. And as always, staff will use their paid time off allotments to cover this time. And then new this year, we decided to set the volunteer appreciation dinner date early. Typically, we set it in January, February for volunteer week in April, and waiting this long often leaves us without our choice of dates because the calendars for the community centers fill up really quickly. Last year, we didn't have a choice of date at all. The Wednesday was the only day that it was available. So as of right now, the Palmerston Auditorium has plenty of availability, and we are proposing to host the event on the Thursday to avoid council meetings. And last year, we got some feedback that Wednesday nights are not convenient for a few community groups. So April 18th is the date that we are looking at.
Okay, thank you, Quinn. So the recommendation moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor Zimmerman, that the Council of Town of Minto receives the report CL 2023-009 regarding the 2023 Christmas office closure, the 2024 council meeting schedule, and the 2024 volunteer appreciation dinner. That the council approves that the holiday hours, 2024 council meeting schedule, and the 2024 volunteer appreciation dinner date and location as outlined in the 2023-009. Questions? You get a chance to try out that commercial kitchen in Palmerston, right? after the fall fair. I've heard some really good reports on that, so. No questions? I'm gonna call the question. All in favor of that motion? Thank you, that's carried. So organized, Corinne. And Annaline, our staff is very organized. I'm sure you had help. The next item then is CAO 2023-05, request for proposal 2023-08, corporate strategic plan and various master plans. And I'm going to ask Mark Potter, who might on this.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Turton. Before council is the award recommendation for RFP 2023-08, which is for consulting services for the development of a corporate strategic plan, Parks and Recreation Master Plan, Economic and Community Development Master Plan, and a Cultural Master Plan. RFP 2023-08 was issued on June 30th and closed on August 4th, with the town receiving a total of 3 submissions. A municipal evaluation committee was established to independently review the submissions and evaluate the proposals based on the criteria that is outlined in the staff report. The municipal evaluation committee then came together to form a consensus evaluation score for each proponent. Based on the results of the RFP evaluations, staff is recommending that McQueen Galloway Associates be awarded RFP 2023-08, having scored the highest in points awarded. And I'm happy to answer any questions council may have.
So the recommendation, moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the Council of Town of Minto receives report CAO 2023-005 regarding request for proposal 2023-08, corporate strategic plan and various master plan award, and that the Council of Town of Minto award the request for proposal 2023-08 to McQueen Galloway Associates. Questions for Mr. Potter? Seeing none, I'm sure the question is going to be, why did we not take the least expensive? I understand why we didn't, and I think our staff again have stepped up and researched this, researched the people that are going to be doing the plans for us, and we're hiring the best person for the job. So thank you. I'm going to call the question. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you very much. We're at announcements. You want to start, Councillor Elliott?
Sure. I just want to announce that our new video score clock in Palmerston Arena is up and running. Probably a lot of you saw it at the Fall Fair. It's just amazing. It's going to be a really, really good thing for our community. I think we're doing a presentation. Jamie and Kara Tacalino are paying for this. And it's up and running, and we're going to do a kind of a grand presentation. I believe hockey game, Minto is up for the 4th. When's the days change? In October, we're having a hockey day, and it's probably going to be a Saturday, and I believe all the teams are going to play somebody, and at the end, the 81s are going to play. So during that time, we're probably going to do a presentation, put a sign under box saying who doing it. And there is a possibility in January, if we can find the money, we may put cameras so that you'll be able to watch what's happening on the floor, how strategically they put it, and you could probably do an instant replay on the clock. If a goal is scored, you push goal, stops, backs up 30 seconds, and it'll replay the goal or a penalty or whatever necessary. So it's kind of a unique thing. We're lucky to have that, and it didn't cost the town any money.
Councillor Gunson.
Thanks, Mayor Turton. I'm excited it's the first day of school today. That means kids have gone back. But that means we got to watch for the children on the street, and we got to watch and make sure we don't, or we behave our road rules with the buses and everything. So keep an eye out for those excited kids because it's the first day of school.
Councillor Dirksen.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. I just wanted to highlight the work of 100 Women Who Care Rural Wellington. Our representative from the Guelph Wellington, Crime Stoppers Guelph Wellington, mentioned that group. So we are celebrating our 5th anniversary at our September meeting, which happens in less than 2 weeks. During the 5 years, this group of 100 women or more have donated over $200,000 to organizations in rural Wellington and to local charities. A couple other people here in the room who are part of that 100 women, and many more in Minto and in Wellington North and in Mapleton and in the center Wellington and even out of Erin and Guafaramasa, and I think we even have a couple from Puslich. So anyway, so it's a very, very wide, diverse area that we cover. But all of the money that has been raised has been spent for purposes in rural Wellington counties. So lots to be proud of there, I think.
Just a reminder of the Hairston Fall Fair coming up in a very short time, weeks. Hope to see everyone there.
Go ahead.
I don't know that I really have anything except maybe a mention of Culture Days. They're coming up too at the end of September, and we'll be stargazing with Gord out at the farm on the 22nd, I think, as long as it's not raining. You pick some apples, sit around the fire, watch Gord's amazing telescope showing you things going across the sky, and a whole bunch of other activities. But Belinda will have lots more information on that coming days.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just say the same thing, the Palmerston Fall Fair. I've heard so many comments over there. It was really well organized with the support of our staff. I hear that all the time, and I've got an email here from the chair, the president of the Hairston Fall Fair, and how supportive our staff are in organizing and making sure that the events run smoothly. So that's terrific, and that's very, very much appreciated. So you're right, the Hairston Fall Fair is coming, and I'm just wondering about the parade. You'll likely have a float. I'm thinking that it's Saturday around noon, right? Belinda, do you know what we're doing, or is Gord planning that?
Funny enough, I'm helping Gord South with the parade. So yes, it is at 12 o'clock and the lineup is around 11:30 at Spear Seats.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you very much. So, anything else? Well, you'll likely hear more of what we're driving and how we're
I will
walking.
send out an email and double check. So.
Perfect. Okay. And thank you for looking after the one in Palmerston. It was excellent. So we have a resolution here moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the Committee of the Whole convenes in regular council. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Notices of motion. Any notices of motion? Okay. Resolution moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the Council of the Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in Committee of the Whole. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Bylaws moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that bylaw 2023-053, 2023-054, and 2023-055 be read a first, second, third time, passed in open council, sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that motion? Thank you. That's carried. Confirmatory resolution moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that bylaw 2023-056 to confirm actions of the council, corporation of the town of Minto respecting a meeting held September 5th, 2023 be read a first, second, third time and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of the motion? That's passed. Thank you. Adjournment. Resolution moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the Council of Town of Minto adjourns to meet again. Call to the mayor. All in favor? Thank you very much. Very productive meeting, and we are finished before 5 o'clock.